AI is inevitable. The world's information has been growing at a rapid pace. The first technologies that we invented to deal with that information were technologies of paucity, like search engines and databases. But now we want answers quicker and we want more information to go to work. That kind of technologies require contextual intelligence, which modern AIs bring. Think about a Home Depot store with 32,000 to 38,000 parts. You walk in with a problem. There's no one person who knows all the parts, let alone your situation and how those parts will be used in your situation. The kind of conversational intelligence we have allows to build up context of our need through conversation and then finds the right technology and its application into that situation intelligently.
I remember hearing a talk by Kasparov, who says that a good human plus a machine is the best combination.
In this case, it's a very small neural network, but in reality, in order to understand an image like this, could potentially have hundreds of neurons. Our hope is that given the image of a bird, we get a very strong signal coming out of this neuron that's responsible for bird.
Welcome to a journey into our brains of the online interactive world where artificial intelligence, or AI, is no longer a distant concept, but rather a presence on our kitchen countertop. From the moment we wake up and use our smartphones, to the news we consume, the education we pursue, the surgeries we undergo, the cars we drive, and even our smart speakers like Google Home and Alexa. AI already permeates every aspect of our existence. Consider the evolution of AI over the years. Once confined only to the realms of science fiction, AI has slowly but surely made its way into our daily routines, where it now adds convenience and efficiency to our conversations with devices and services. The rise of generative and multimodal AIs, however, also evokes both excitement and anxiety, as this AI now approaches human-like capabilities. The new AIs can pass bar exams, paint pictures, and create videos from text prompts. They can also write articles and plan itineraries as they see what we see, hear what we hear, or say what we say.
Which looks more fun? The one on the right, because it has a loop.
What do you think this person might be saying?
How about a woohoo?
Ooh, I love that.
I see you're drawing a guitar.
AI assistants seem ready to help us navigate a complex world.
Hey Siri, take me to my parked car.
Getting walking directions to your parked car. Turn right onto Alpine Road.
The silver lining of AI benefits is tinged with concerns about its potential misuse, particularly around racial and other biases. Therefore, there is a clamor for regulating AI use, especially in healthcare and education. The path forward demands both excitement about AI's immense promise and a healthy debate about social impacts. Hello, my name is Charles Bedord. You can't read a newspaper or listen to a TV or radio broadcast today without something being said about artificial intelligence, commonly known as AI. Depending on a person's point of view, AI is being portrayed as something that will enhance our lives and also something that could undermine our society. So what exactly is AI and how does it work? Our guest today to discuss AI is Dr. Pankaj Mehra. Dr. Mehra has a PhD in computer science from the University of Illinois and is President CEO of Elephant's Memory Incorporated. From 2017 to 2021, he was VP of Product Planning at Samsung Electronics Device Solutions. He is also an adjunct associate professor at the University of California, Santa Cruz. Dr. Mehra, welcome to our show.
Thank you. And it's very nice to be with you again, Chuck.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Mehra, what exactly is artificial intelligence and how is it created?
I think the best way to understand artificial intelligence is to contrast it with traditional programming. The artificial in artificial intelligence is about computers, programs, software, and hardware that are designed to look like the intelligent beings, such as humans,
Okay.
through software. And by contrasting with traditional programming, we can see that this kind of computers with artificial intelligence or devices with artificial intelligence do a little bit more than what they were programmed to do. They're a little bit less brittle and they respond more naturally and intelligently.
What do you mean by less brittle?
They don't break in ways that precisely programmed things break. So you can say things in natural language more conversationally. They're more forgiving of our accents, of the words we use, and they're more contextual. So if we leave out words, they can pick up the subtext or the context from our history and our environment.
So they kind of can react with the user as more of in a human way.
Yes.
Do they function like, let's say, the human brain would function?
That is the current thinking, that the best way to make these things function is to program them just like neurons in the human brain.
What makes artificial intelligence unique? We've all heard of computer programs and various types of software, but why is AI unique into itself?
To seem intelligent, a technology has to solve a problem at a human scale. That has many dimensions to it, in particular, like you were asking about brittleness. So to break that brittleness, you cannot have fixed facts and rules and steps of action. Instead, it has to react in a more holistic way to the total input it is receiving by way of speech, vision, and even context clues of various kind. So in that sense, the scale of data and the nature of the changing environment causes AI to require more brain-like function and less a traditional step-by-step algorithmic function. And some people technically say that human scale problems like vision, speech, and recognition are problems that have very high problem description. So in that sense, we are solving a problem that if we write down in a traditional way to solve on a computer, the program would just be miles long. So we try to solve them in a brain-like fashion because that's the proof we have of how to solve these problems, really.
So would it be correct to say then that AI interacts with the user more like a human would rather than past computers would?
That's correct. In fact, if you look at the notion of testing, whether you have built an artificial intelligence, it goes back to one of the founding fathers of computing, Alan Turing, who is known for breaking the German Enigma machine's code.
I see.
But there is a famous test called the Turing test, where if you are sitting across an interface and interacting with a human versus a computer with artificial intelligence, you should not be able to tell the two apart.
Interesting.
That's called the Turing test.
So what is your personal experience with AI? I know you're CEO, president of your own company, and but how have you used AI, and what is your personal work with this in this area?
Yeah. Interestingly, Chuck, I have, before I used AI, I built AI.
You did?
That's what makes me an engineer, is that I was always interested in taking things apart and putting them back together. Even as a kid, I took apart every toy that my 5-year older sister had. And then, as a young engineer at Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, in the library, I saw a book about modeling the world using a 60s programming language called Simula. And I became instantly fascinated with that book as to how I could build a model of the world and reason with it. And
how old were you at this point?
I was about 22 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started thinking about building this, and I immediately realized it would be formidable to write that much code to have a model of every object in the world. And there was a scientist at Apple in Cupertino at that time. His name is Alan Kay, who incidentally is a Turing Award winner. This is like Nobel Prize in computing. And Alan Kay wrote a book about a language called Smalltalk 80. So by the time I was, later in my undergraduate program and I did my undergraduate thesis, it was about building a system that was capable of implementing Smalltalk 80, and through that, building a model of the world. But in this process, I had my first realization that we needed a technology that understood the world and modeled it for us, rather than have humans program all the things that we saw into the computers. And that's where my interest in machine learning and artificial intelligence started.
So what do you do today related to artificial? What is your company related to artificial?
Yes, and this has been quite a journey, Chuck, from first realizing that there was a problem to solve, to going to University of Illinois, which in those days was called the Mecca of learning, because a lot of early pioneers in machine learning were at University of Illinois, the early professors in that area. And so I ended up there in 1986 in Urbana-Champaign. And in 1987, I worked on the first AI exhibit for the Boston Museum of Science.
I see.
And I wrote some of the first code for that artificial intelligence. And since then, there has been a journey for me personally and for the technology. As you see, it's a buzzword that everybody knows.
Right.
But my contributions have been at the intersection of AI and computer systems, both using artificial intelligence to make better computer systems, which was a topic of my PhD thesis work, and also using computer systems to build faster AI, which has been the focus of my work for the last 10 years in the memory companies.
I think it would be of great interest to our audience if you could just talk a little bit about what are some general applications of artificial intelligence that the average person could use in their daily life.
Yes, and Chuck, since you're talking in present tense, let me start by describing the applications of this thing called large language models, or the common acronym LLM. And some famous ones of these are like the Google Gemini that was introduced earlier this week, and the one that made most noise in the earlier part of the year called ChatGPT. But besides, these things that we see today, where you can talk to a home speaker and order bathroom supplies or pasta, or ask questions about weather, or recipes. In the long term, the big impact from artificial intelligence comes from it touching almost everything. And us computer scientists, we have a litmus test of true pervasive intelligence, that it basically disappears into the walls and the paints of our walls. And it's there for us, and really filling in the gaps in our situational context without us having to utter everything that it should just understand from observing us, watching us, and being our friend and assistant for a long, long time.
I see. Can you ask AI to do something for you and it will just do it?
So it's a lot more capable today of understanding what we are saying and retrieving information in response. It is starting to initiate transactions for us reliably, like shopping transactions or even calling our own phones. You can say to your speaker, call my daughter, and it will know who your daughter is, what their phone number is, and will actually call them.
Okay, there's something really concrete.
Yeah.
Yes.
But beyond that, we think that making things happen in the real world can go far beyond that. In the sense, asking something to travel on your behalf and lock your door, go as a group of environmentalists, observing a problem from satellite data and directing boats or submersibles to go retrieve a loose net or plastic in the ocean. So we are not there yet.
Okay. So now I'm the general public, certainly, and I've heard this about AI. I'm fascinated by AI, the whole idea. How can I try it out? I mean, let's say I'm sitting here at my Apple terminal with the computer screen in front of me, and I say, gee, I'd really like to try something on AI. What do I do? How do I go about this?
Yes, I mean, like I said, some of the easiest examples are picking up your Android phone and saying, "Okay, Google," or saying, "Hey Siri," and have it do the job for you. There's a lot of AI buried in things like Siri and the Android operating system.
Well, do I go into Google, for instance, and type in AI and it'll take me somewhere? What do I do?
No, it's built into the search engines. It's built into the home speakers. The very fact that you can talk to it in your native language, for a person like me, I can get a recipe in Hindi, not just in
Really?
English. Yeah. And in fact, for playing Bollywood songs, many times the words that we speak to get the right song are best understood by a Hindi version of Google rather than a English version of Google. There is starting to be a lot of AI behind natural language that you can use. But as someone who writes and edits documents, one of the other ways you can use AI is through things like Copilot or asking ChatGPT to either plan a trip for you to Tahiti, and it will actually give you a step-by-step plan of where to book your travel and what to go see.
Now, you mentioned chat there, and that's something I have heard about. I've seen it in the newspaper.
Yeah.
How do I go into Google and just enter that and it'll take me there?
No, at least today, that technology requires you to go to a specific website to sign up for it.
Okay.
Or you can enable the Bard search engine from Google, and it does similar functionality.
But it will plot out, a trip for you, an itinerary.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I had to collect some marketing information for my day job, and I didn't want to call up marketers and product departments at 5 different companies. So I just asked one of these chat AIs to compile all the data for me, and it prepared a spreadsheet for me within a matter of 5 minutes.
And I take it this is a back and forth. It asks you questions and you respond to the questions, and finally out comes something you want?
It was more like an iterative flow, where the first time I asked it the question, it said I had not given it enough information to have a tabulated answer.
Okay.
And then I turned around and I said, make reasonable assumptions. Let me tell you what this was about. So I was trying to figure out that if you have many hours of video coming in every minute at a service like YouTube or our low security camera data centers, how much data in this thing called embeddings would be produced from all that video, hundreds of hours of video coming in every minute. And I didn't know the right answer, but I knew examples of some services like YouTube and TikTok. So I just gave it those examples, and I gave it examples of some common video formats like AV1 and MP4. And I said, fill in the rest of the table based on reasonable assumptions you can make. And the second time around, it actually gave me a tabulated answer. Then, it hadn't told me how it did the calculation. So I couldn't trust it. So I turned around and I said, can you explain the calculation? And it actually took me step by step to how it had interpreted my question and how it had done the calculation based on the data that was available in the web.
Is an AI application then created by just entering lots and lots of data gathered from many, many people? I take it you have to have a ton of data to create AI. Is this correct?
Yes. In fact, these AIs are practically trained on the world's open information.
I see.
So think Wikipedia as a very general, large public source, but then also think about your own Gmail, okay, for your personal AI being trained. And then think about more corporate documents like Intel processor manuals. So I'll share with you an interesting experience here. I wanted to know about some trends in microprocessors used in data centers. And I wanted to know the size of reorder buffers in these microprocessors. It's a very technical piece of information. So my first hunch was to call an Intel fellow. And I said, I have this question, and what do you think is the answer? And I was surprised at his answer. This was about a year and a half ago. So he said, even inside Intel, that when a processor is being designed, that kind of technical information is only known to a couple of architects in this company with more than 10,000 people. And he said, when we have a question like this, we ask ChatGPT. And ChatGPT has read all the Intel technical manuals and knows better than any Intel engineer that information across all the processor generations. I was surprised. At present, I don't trust all the answers I receive from it, but I know it is one of the go-to sources of information to start my searches.
Now, AI has many advantages. What are some of the advantages and also some of the threats posed by AI?
Yeah, this is a really important question. And it's at the center of much legislation that is starting to happen, for example, in Europe this week. And the benefits are just multiplying. So let me first focus on advantages and benefits of artificial intelligence. So, as we make these neural networks that are behind all this AI larger, we as engineers are astounded by how many more things these AIs are able to do. So case in point, when we went from 54 billion parameters in our large language models at Google to 540 billion parameters, we started not only understanding human utterances, but we got the ability, for example, to explain jokes. We got the ability to explain calculations. We got the ability to do something called multimodal AI, which responds not just to text you type on the keyboard, but also to gestures you are making, expressions on your face, or artifacts or exhibits that you are showing it. So truly a multi-dimensional interaction became possible. And the senior engineers at Google are on record saying that the outcome they got from making something 10 times bigger was a lot bigger than 10 times more.
So it's exponential.
It is an exponential. And what it will do for you by way of advantages, we are at the very beginning of that. And people can see at least 2 more generations of that exponential very reliably within sight. So, people ask what are some disadvantages of AI. One of them is bias. And the bias comes from what is known as sample bias, which is the data that was used for training these AIs. might not be representative. So if it was trained to recognize faces, it may not have seen enough dark faces. Or if it was trained to make mortgage decisions, it may not have seen enough approvals for disadvantaged people.
Okay.
So some biases that exist in our financial system, or racial biases that exist in us as individuals or our data as a result, are then starting to translate into biases that are built into AI software.
I see.
And there are two particular areas where the potential for harm is quite large. One, for example, is education. The other is health. And so if you look at the AI legislation that was passed in Europe, it focuses on risks to human existence that are possible from widespread use of these AIs. And so some of the things that are starting to be regulated are transparency about data that was used to train these systems, and whether that data and the algorithm that was used to create the AI out of that data meets the same standards of fairness that exist in housing and financing legislations and education, schooling, and busing laws, for example. Another area is democratizing access to AI. So when Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, was asked about some of the most important technical issues facing us around AI moving forward, one of the things he talked about was fairness in terms of access to AIs. And companies like OpenAI, which are in the process of democratizing AI and making transparent the rules and the software that it uses, are part of the solution of that.
So we're coming to the end of our show here. I take it then you do feel that some regulation is needed for AI. Is that correct?
Yes, in fact, because it's solving human scale problems, and as a human scale technology, I do believe that regulation will be necessary.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I enjoyed our conversation.
And Chuck, I enjoyed your questions and discussing this with you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. AI is a powerful technology that will be both used and abused. New regulations seek to minimize its harm. AI has great potential to extend human reach, to help us map, plan, and execute planet-wide geoengineering solutions to grand challenges such as global warming and species decline. In medicine, personalized health and diagnostics, as well as in education, personalized teaching and assessment present an opportunity to democratize the benefits of AI. Coupled with advances in robotics and electronics, AI will add richness to our learning years, productivity to our working years, and hopefully dignity to our golden years.